regards to the total certificate and the income tax collections, let me just say this. I think it's pretty clear as we evaluated the certificate in November, continue to evaluate it in December. I think we made it clear that we felt private industry income tax was growing. What we were fearful of, and remains still, is the downward pressure we're going to get from government entities. And what I mean by that is every time the county, you read about the county reducing its workforce, that extrapolates into a 2% loss to us. So it was never that we didn't expect to be up in January. As a matter of fact, I expect us to be up the first 5 months pretty good. It was a little bit better than what I would have expected for January, but in light of what Shawnee's saying is that those could be just one-time deposits on an estimate. So you take that with a grain of salt. With that being said, though, the important part is everything on the income tax is trending the right way for the last 5 months. And so that's what we looked at when we felt we were going to have some growth in the private sector. And we hope that the downward pressure we get from the government sector isn't too great. And what we don't know is what the state of Ohio's cuts are going to be on their personnel, in addition to what they may do to undermine local government, the state tax, or whatever. And they have people that work within the city of Canton and pay city taxes that are on the state's payroll. So it just depends on how much that downward pressure ends up affecting any private sector growth and income tax. With respect to everything else, it was a good month. Fire EMS, for those of you who don't know, we were up for the month 37,000, but that is an expected increase because we had very little receipts in January and February of last year. I expect that to level off after the month of February as well, so obviously we'll take that into consideration. That anything that we have, the pressure, whether it be on for revenue collection for the EMS or the income tax, it has to be looked at in totality. And one of the things that no matter what happens in these first 5 months, until the state of Ohio passes its budget and we know what cuts are definitively coming down, you cannot expect any certificate increase in the general fund. Pure and simple. We factored in a 25% reduction in undivided local government that would affect us half of this year based on their calendar, fiscal year being July 1st. And we estimate that that's going to be $700,000. We don't know yet if that's going to be sufficient in those cuts. So for us to presume anything on 1 or 2 months growth in the first month, quarter, until we know definitively, there will be no adjustment to the certificate. That being said, we're trending the right way. It's unlike where we were when we began 2010, because when we began 2010, we expected to have 5 months of significant decline, and that in fact came to fruition. We were down at the end of July almost $2.1 million and ended up in the vicinity of about 1.7. We had growth in the last 4 months of the year. This makes 5 with January. So we're trending better, but we're still far from out of the woods. And just as important as anything else, the only thing I would say regarding the budget cycle is on expenditures. The only thing I'm going to comment on is 2 very important items. And one is, for those members of council who've been here for a long time, the 2155 parking fund has had a declining cash balance for years, and that has the potential to actually cost the general fund sometime this year, and ultimately end up with 0 carryover, if not needing a true subsidy in 2011. So not only could we possibly end up with a subsidy there in 2011, but it would grow based on the fact that there's no carryover in 2012. So on the expenditure side, that is my concern on the general fund side that can be impacted by something that you don't even think about. Other than that, I think the other one we need to keep a significant eye on the expenditure side is the hospitalization fund, which I know everybody does every month. But again, that budget starts at about $500,000 less than we ended last year with. And that fund also, if I'm not mistaken, I think the stop loss numbers came in slightly higher. So I think we're going to have to evaluate that on a monthly basis and really keep tabs on that, because that can come back to haunt us as well. Other than that, that's all I have.